Hey, welcome to the show, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. This is Coach James Short, aka Shorty. And this is a show for those within the real estate industry wanting to lead and grow their real estate business. It's a series of interviews that we conduct for those within the industry. So we're finding out what those leaders are within the industry, what makes them tick, what's their story, what are their strategies, and how to become the leaders and the growers within the industry. But also, it's an interview series with those outside of the industry. I'm always a big believer of looking at a whole different part of the pie rather than just focusing on one part of the pie. Because what it does, it allows you to have a different perspective, allows you to get snippets or golden nuggets from those outside of the industry that can look in the industry and go, there's a different perspective. And so I encourage you to reach out to the guests. I encourage you to lean into these series to find out how can these pieces of information, experiences, stories help you lead and grow your real estate business. If you don't know this person, our next amazing guest, you are dead set living under a rock. Samantha McLean from Elite Agent and AI Powered Agents. Oh my goodness. She is one of the most profound industry experts out there in the real estate space. She is a mover and a shaker, and it's an honor and a privilege to have her on the show tonight. They created Elite Agents back in 2013, and since then they've claimed several prestigious awards: the Umbrella Published B2B Magazine of the Year 2016 and 20, Umbrella Business Editor of the Year 2015, 18, and 20, and I'm sure there's many other awards, and Event of the Year for Transform for 2020. A couple of their publication is obviously Elite Agent and also EPM. But what I'm really interested in talking to her about is the whole AI in the real estate industry. So let's get her onto the show. Samantha, it is so lovely and an honor to have you on the show today. Welcome.
I am here. I was just going to leave you to do all of that because that was such an incredible intro. I was thinking, is he really talking about me?
Mate, it's a truly, it's an honor and a privilege. Like every corner I turn around, it's like, there she is again, there she is again. From your publication, from your events, to the information that you get out into the community, the real estate community, absolutely amazing. So once again, thank you. Like let's go back to the beginnings of around that 2013. What embarked you to get into the publication space?
Yeah, this is an oldie but a goodie. But I was working for someone back during that time who had a real estate magazine, and I really loved it. It was actually my second job because I used to work for PwC. That was my full-time job. I needed a second job because single mother and all that sort of thing. And he mainly focused on the print world, which is making a comeback, I hear, but
Yeah.
mainly focused on print and not digital. And a very, you know, a worthy adversary came around the corner in real estate business who were very digital and very nimble and all that sort of thing. And so that meant that the publication that I was working for was kind of no more. And weirdly, everyone just said to me, well, why don't you just do your own thing? But, like for those other reasons I just sort of touched on, not very easy to do your own thing. But eventually I did and published my first magazine in September 2014. So,
Wow.
yeah, so that will be, well, we're just a little over a month from exactly 10 years from that day. So
So that's incredible. Where's that 10 years go? So if you look back over the 10 years, I mean, there's been some massive changes, not just within the industry, but obviously through publication and how we get messages out there. What have you seen some of those biggest changes over, I guess, those past 10 years?
the biggest change is always in technology and the speed at which things happen. So, like I feel like I've been through a bit of a time in the real estate industry where a lot of little companies kind of popped up, and then have been acquired. So we've sort of gone through this period of, all these little, so nimble again, prop techs and things like that. And then, they sort of, rose through the ranks. And then, now we're seeing, like a lot of acquisitions, a lot of the bigger companies with their checkbooks out, and although that's kind of stopped a little bit now, but that's been interesting. And then I think, like consumer trends as well. Like, so, particularly you touched on AI earlier. I think, the demands of consumers are just getting greater and greater and greater. We expect more and more and more. And, and I think that's changed for agents. But something I think will never change is the need to be a good human, and the need to, deal with people as people, as individuals, and not just a name on a database.
So true, right? Because I mean that we can get so caught up into, a software piece for this or a tech piece for that or the latest this or that. But at the end of the day, it's humans, it's the connection, it's the communication, and it's building those relationships. For you on your own personal journey, what has been the biggest shift for you over those 10 years?
I think that, well, our business has gone through some interesting stages. I mean, we started as print only, and then we went from print to, having a daily newsletter, which was the brief. And then we started a lot of video content, started a podcast quite by accident. And so all of a sudden, like we had, print magazine, podcast, digital newsletter, and I didn't get a lot of sleep for
The
a
big
while.
schedule.
Yeah, it is a pretty big schedule. So we've sort of gone through all those things, and I think those things in popularity have kind of ebbed and flowed along the way. So like obviously, we stopped publishing the magazine probably, I think it was about March last year. I just sort of felt it was time. Like, there was, I'm very much, like I don't like sitting still, because I think that, the phrase "we've always done it this way," said by a famous naval officer, Grace Hopper, is the biggest danger in any business, because it can hold you back from something really awesome. So, like we've always tried to sort of flow with the times, and so now we've got 3 newsletters actually. One which is the Daily Brief, one which is called Movers and Shakers, funnily enough, and also AI powered agents to kind of roll with the times of what's happening in the real estate industry with AI. I'm sort of fascinated by the technology myself. My background before I slid into the real estate industry was always high tech, so it's been impossible for me not to veer back that way. So they're probably the biggest changes.
It's a real sort of, I guess, coming full circle with a whole nother, I guess, suite of skills and a platform. And let's dive into that world of AI, because it's the latest on everyone's tongue and everyone's conversations around. And some people are right in, some people are tipping their toe in, some people are running the other direction. Real estate and AI. Give me a snapshot. Where is it for you, and where is it for the industry right now?
Yeah, well, I think where is it for me? I mean, we're using AI extensively in our business. So, and, trying to use, and for me personally, like I haven't had a PA for the last 2 years, because I'm using an AI to manage my calendar. I don't know if you've called me lately, but I actually have an AI assistant answering my voicemail, who can actually take messages and things like that. Not to say that I wouldn't have another PA, because I'm about at that point where I feel like I actually need a human helping me again. But, things like, even writing stories, like I will use AI to give me ideas on, what used to take me hours of research, to find out a topic. And then, then I'll go and I might write a first draft, or I might give the AI some ideas of what I'm thinking about with that topic. But then I'll use AI as an editor as well. So I'll actually write, and then the AI will say, you need a source here. This paragraph kind of is a bit weak. Like all the things that I used to do for other people. Like I actually now have an assistant editor that is an AI. And a lot harder than I would ever be, and frankly, a lot more direct. I used to sugarcoat my feedback a fair bit
This is
more.
blunt,
But,
pretty blunt.
the AI can be very blunt. But I do believe, like in some ways, it's made me a better writer. And and even just in things that like I thought I was okay at, like, I thought I was okay at spotting somewhere that needed a source or needed something else. But, there are tools now where, and I'm referring to a tool called Lex, which is like a writing co-pilot. If I want to reference some legislation, for instance, I can say, can you look up where that legislation is? And it will bring back the link. Like, I don't have to leave my document to go and search for something else. And so what I'm able to achieve in a day is far greater than, what I used to be able to. But that's AI. Like, essentially, it gives you superpowers in creating content and superpowers in consuming content.
Love
So
it. What about now for the real estate agent? Because this is huge, right? And I've jumped on the AI powered agents website, and it's just phenomenal. The resource and the videos that you've got there is absolutely phenomenal. How can it have an impact in the agents? But what's most agents' biggest fear around it?
I think probably the same as mine was. Like, when I first looked at ChatGPT, when it first came out in November 2022, November 2023, sorry, paid no attention to it whatsoever, was too busy going to Melbourne Cup and, working
Yep.
out what my outfit was going to be and looking forward to Christmas. Had no time for this AI business at all. It wasn't until Christmas, when I was writing some training material for CPD in New South Wales, that I thought, oh, I might jump on and see what this thing's like. And like, it could tell me what the underquoting legislation was, and then it could suggest some questions that I could put in the underquoting module, and like, and on and on and on. And I sort of thought, oh, this is really good. Like, and then I started to think a bit further, and I thought, oh, is my career over? Like, and like, to be honest, my career as I knew it is over, because publishing gets disrupted before everybody else. Like, it happened with digital publishing over print publishing. It's happening now in the TV world. Like, streaming is disrupting regular TV. And so for me, like, I think, your life as a writer is not over, so long as you view your career as being different. Like, what can you add that's on top of what the AI can do? And so this is where I think, if you just now move that straight onto a real estate agent, looks at AI and says, oh my God, like, what's coming? Is the transaction all going to be digital? Am I going to have a role to play? Well, yes, you will have a role to play, but now is the time to start thinking about what you can do that the AI can't do, and let the AI do the thing that the AI can do. And, like, let the AI make you smarter the way that I've kind of, like, not, like, I've kind of, I'm not going to say conceded, but, like, I'm definitely using it to my advantage now.
Yep.
Because, like I said, with creating content, I can have the thing written, I can have critical feedback that makes it better, and then I can have 10 titles, 10 SEO keywords, a meta description, an image description, like, all those little things that I maybe used to miss out on because I was too busy to do that. Well, now I can do that. And so that's the way I think that agents have got to start thinking about the AI, is how can I let it make me smarter? It's not cheating. It's just using the tools that you've got available to you. And I think that will cause a bit of disruption in the real estate industry, because the people
Yep.
that are sort of learning that stuff now are going to be way ahead of everyone that is going, oh, like, maybe if I ignore this, it'll go away. It's not like NFTs or anything like that. I don't think it's going anywhere, because it's been around for that many years. It's just that it's hit the mainstream now.
So true, right? So true. And I think you hit the nail on the head around your superpower, where it can actually make you, come across even more efficient, more productive, and really level up your game, because there's only so many hours in a day that you can get done. Like writing, right? There's only so many hours, but now you can actually supercharge these results, which will be able to make you do bit more productive and more focused, but also build those relationships. I guess those human contact relationships where AI can't necessarily do that, so to speak. You mentioned about those who don't get on board. Where do you see them over the next couple of years if they don't get on board, and you can see the rapid growth of AI? Where do you see they fit? Hey guys, just a little side note here. How's it going? Are you on track this year? I know that sometimes this part of the year we can feel like we're in a bit of a grind, a bit of in the trenches. Are you on track from the original plans that you set out for the rest of this year? What I've realized is that between with this time of year, we get so distracted and we've got trying to chase so many shiny balls and go down so many rabbit holes. And that's why I created a program called the 90. It's a framework that actually allows you to achieve more in 90 days than ever before. Some of the feedback that we've got from some of the people that have used the process, the 90, is that they've achieved more in 90 days than the whole previous year. So if you'd like to have the tools, have the techniques, have the framework on the 90, so you and your team can achieve more in 90 days than ever before. What it does, and it impacts you of how to get clear, what you need to do, and who you need to be to show up in order to achieve the things you want to achieve over the next 90 days. Simply head over to jamesshort.com.au, click on join the waitlist, fill in your details, and one of the team members will be in touch and take you through the 90 framework. On with the show.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And can I tell you another story?
Yeah, please.
At Elite Retreat, I told a bit of a story about my history in IT. In that, back when I was 22 years old, I was managing a chartered accounting firm. And at the time in this chartered accounting firm, there was, we were on WordPerfect 5.1. Only the secretaries had computers, and they called them secretaries. The partners had secretaries. They had computers on their desks. And the way that information got around the office was, well, the water cooler.
Yes.
And, the secretaries typing up a memo from a dictaphone and putting it in an outbox pigeonhole, which some human would then come along, grab that memo and distribute them around the office. That was how everyone communicated.
I remember those days.
Yeah. Anyway, I was a bit of a Melanie Griffith working girl type, and I thought, I read the Australian on a Wednesday. These people need email. So I put together a proposal and made an appointment with the managing partner. I don't even know how I got the guts to do that. But I went up to him and I said, I think we need to get computers on the professional staff's desks, and I think we need email. And, he looked at me from his glasses and went, what do you mean? And kind of shooed me out of his office. Anyway, I got a call a couple of days later, from his secretary saying, Mr. Duncan would like to see you again about your proposal. Anyway, it all sort of, there was a lot of scary meetings for me during that phase, but we got there. And that transformation for the firm, as difficult as it was, took about 4 years.
Wow.
Because back in the 90s, you sort of high cost of computers, behavior change, which is hard,
Huge.
instead of sort of yelling to someone that's outside your office, you're typing an email yourself. Can you imagine some of these partners who are very traditional thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can use this. So, that was that world, and that took 4 years. And the second part of this story is that, if you think back to the turn of the century, back to the 1900s, in 1901, and there's some pictures you can look them up. They're fascinating. In 1901 on Fifth Avenue, you can see all of the horse-drawn carts, going down Fifth Avenue, and it's amazing. And back then, people would say things like, there will never be a time when men won't need horses, and at that time, Henry Ford was busy building an automobile, but everyone was saying, no, there will never be a time that man won't need horses. Anyway, fast forward 12 years and you can see the same photo on Fifth Avenue and it's all cars.
Wow.
So it took 12 years at the turn of the century. It took 4 years in the early 90s when I was, being Melanie Griffith. Now that it's 2024, it's taking a lot less time. I mean, ChatGPT had 1 million users in a week.
Crazy.
And the other thing is, it's not as expensive. Back in the 1900s, you had to be rich to afford a car.
Yep.
In the 1990s, to afford, any sort of computer, it was, $6,000 or something crazy. I've got an advertisement for one of them. And now, you can use ChatGPT for free. So, if you're sort of thinking, well, I don't need to know about this and I've got plenty of time, The only thing I can tell you is this: you do need to know about it, and you don't have as much time as you think.
So true. So true. Spot on. And it is another, like, things are speeding up. I remember I was doing a presentation back in 2010 and just explaining there was a lot of industries outside of the real estate space using video marketing. And I said, guys, to a bunch of agents, I said, like, watch this space. Video is going to take off. Ah, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, we'll never get any legs. No, okay, okay. So it's really, it's quite interesting to see how things do change and to speed up, but also, I guess, the adaptation too, because you can see things like technology, like what we're doing here today. Like, we're conducting an interview. It's not, it's through Zoom. We're recording it. It'll go up on, the different platforms, go on email, where, before, for example, COVID, jumping on a Zoom was not as popular, but throughout Zoom, everyone adapted. Through COVID, everyone adapted. So it was, once again, it's people adapt, and they definitely get on board. I guess another point then, if we take it to those who are embracing it, how have you seen the agents who have been embracing, who are the early adopters, how are they changing their business and their business model, so to speak?
Yeah, some really interesting use cases out there at the moment. You've got the obvious use cases like, virtual staging and things like that. You've got another obvious use case of writing listing descriptions. I would argue that I can teach you to write a better listing description now than with um, whatever you're currently doing, particularly in a market where, there's a lot of stock. But we'll
Mm.
get back to that if you want to ask me about that. But then you've got some people that are implementing some AI at like what I'd call an enterprise level. And, like I'm seeing stuff in the US, particularly like I did a podcast with a guy called Sharan Srivatsa. He's been out here and spoken at a few events, so some people know him. Basically what they've done is they have their own software, but employees can communicate with their database via natural language. So if you like, they've got like a large language model on the top of the data that sits under their CRM system. So you can ask it questions like, what do I need to do to close this deal? How much commission am I owed this month? What day is payday? like all of those
Wow.
things
Yeah,
that
right.
you can just kind of query the model. And I mean, we could do that now too. Like,
Yep.
if we all could update our privacy policies to say we're using AI and all that sort of thing. So that's that. And then you've got, the likes of Sirhan that are doing some clever stuff with communication and negotiation. So they're using a tool called Crystal Knows quite heavily. And what that does basically is that gives you personality data on everyone you meet. Like, I could look up you now on LinkedIn and go, all right, well, James Short is this type of personality. So if I was in a negotiation situation, maybe this is how I'd handle it. I'd maybe overlay my own DISC profile on it. So it would give me some tips on how I could approach you if we were different, all of that sort of thing. So that's something that Sirhan are doing, which is pretty mind-blowing.
That's huge.
Um, yeah. And then the students are in my classes. I'm basically kind of teaching them to be better marketers. So I think, what you can do with ChatGPT, and this would be a tip for the now, is instead of just saying to ChatGPT, can you write me a listing description for 35 Cypress Drive, Broadbeach Waters, which is a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home on the canal with blah, 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 blah. You'll get a reasonable answer out of that unless ChatGPT decides to make stuff up. But you're much better off starting with a persona. Say, I am listing this property. Here are the features. Now, can you give me 5 different personas for who might be interested in this property? And then once you've primed the model with that information, then I go in with something like, okay, now can you write me a listing description targeted to each different persona? Now, can you give me a
Wow.
listing description that incorporates all 5? And that's the one that goes on the portals. And then now, can you give me a marketing plan that will hit all of those personas. So then you can not only go with, with what you normally would on the portals, which is, I think, is the ticket to the dance, but then you can go out to all the other little cohorts of things, whether it's, targeting a specific audience on Facebook with a particular ad, with a particular image, or whether it's, in the case of the property we were marketing last year, putting flyers in the golf course. Because, if you're visiting Surfers Paradise Golf Club, you might want to live near it. You might not want the golf balls in your backyard, but you might want to live near it. And so, again, using the robot will give you a whole bunch of other ideas of where to find buyers rather than just relying on them to come to you via the portals, which I think is what people are going to need, coming into this spring market where there's going to be a bit more stock floating around.
1,000%. So let's unpack that for a second. So your classes, you're running these training classes and courses. Who are they specifically for, and where can the audience go to get more information about it?
Yeah, they're specifically for agents. So this is not just a generic chat GPT thing, that sort of teaches you how to, this is a prompt and that sort of stuff. This is how can we use it to better follow up people from an open home? How can we use it to get feedback from an open home? How can we, using that strategy that I just kind of rattled off, could you do that before you go into a listing and offer someone a free marketing plan instead of a free appraisal? Because nobody has. When was the last time we paid for an appraisal? So
Funny, right?
so that's the sort of thing that you'll learn. And the other, so that's I don't know if you've ever heard of Ryan Dice, but we sort of go through the customer value journey that Ryan Dice has, but apply it to real estate. And so here are some prompts and tips that, at each stage of the CVJ that, that are worth knowing. And then the other thing too is, I think there's a lot of people out there that are dabbling in ChatGPT, but not doing it safely. So, in fact, some people from REA told me the other day that they've put filters in now on the description field of a property because people are forgetting to not paste the ChatGPT component of that.
Right.
And they don't pick them up all the time. So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is I think, I touched on it a bit before, I asked people at Elite Retreat, how many of you are using ChatGPT? And obviously you get a lot more hands raised now, which is great because I do think that there are so many benefits in, smartness and productivity. But then, then I said, okay, well, who has an AI usage policy of the team? Who's updated their privacy policy to say that you may use AI with personal data?
Yep.
And two hands went up, and I know who those two hands were because I'd actually sort of given them a template policy. So, I think there's an element to using the tools safely and, how to implement them safely in your office. So, one side of the course deals with, okay, here are some really practical applications and here's a system that you can, use. But then there's another side of it, which is now, okay, think about, how you're using this and how you can use it safely. And I mean, some other tips like, always keep a human in the loop, that sort of thing. Don't let the AI make big decisions for you. Those sorts of things that, maybe people don't think about right now, and they will, but trust me, they'll be thinking about it in 6 months' time or when something goes wrong and ends up in the media.
1,000%. It's 1,000% so true. Fantastic. So, Samantha, on the show, we have a 60-second quiz to find out a little bit more about yourself. Are you willing to play?
I am willing to play, but this is the bit I'm the most terrified of.
Totally fine. Totally fine. Doesn't hurt. Here we go. Favorite movie?
Top Gun.
Love it. Favorite food? Sorry, how? One or two?
One.
One. Okay, cool. Favorite food?
It's too many to mention. I was going to say roti canai. I used to live in Malaysia, and the roti canai they make in Malaysia beats anything that is here.
Love it. Favorite holiday destination?
Singapore.
Beautiful. What's your morning routine?
Coffee, dogs, cuddle my cat, and then either gym or straight into work.
Love it. What's your evening routine?
Usually, well, we recently bought a hot tub, so it's
Cool.
that's usually the end of the day.
Love it. Do you have a most embarrassing moment?
Yes, I made a spelling mistake on the front cover of issue 3.
Oh, ouch. If
I
you
nearly,
could,
I nearly died.
I can
Don't tell
imagine.
don't tell anyone.
If you could choose 5 inspirational people to have dinner with, who would they be? They could be dead or alive.
Okay, Queen Elizabeth,
Hmm.
um, Michelle Obama,
Hmm.
Oprah,
Hmm.
Ita, and the Madden brothers, because I reckon that they'd make the whole thing way more fun.
So much fun. So much fun. If you were prime minister for the day, what's one thing that you'll change?
It's too many things to fix, I think. I don't know. I'd like to advocate more for women out there. It's funny. I went through my whole career, in male-dominated fields, never feeling like I was, sort of sidelined or anything like that. But I guess the wisdom of age, you look back and you go, yeah, actually, I think I was. And there are some things that are just not right.
Yeah, so true. So true. Best piece of advice.
The best piece of advice: take ownership and be accountable.
Love it. Fantastic. And so, how can the audience find out more? Where can they go? What can they read more of? Where do you send them?
Yep. So you can read more of AI Powered Agents on aipoweredagents.com. You can read more about Elite Agent on eliteagent.com. Or you can just email me, Samantha at eliteagent.com.au, because the robot does not read my emails. I still read them all and respond to them all.
Love it. Samantha, it's an honor and a privilege to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time, energy, and expertise. Thank you once again.
Thanks a lot, James. Thanks for having me.